Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Hump Day. We're obviously there's been some controversy stirred up if you followed TikTok on the roles of EMTs versus paramedics. And I've been very outspoken in my assertions, and Michelle as well. Both of us have that EMTs are beyond critical, and they are the foundation for good paramedics. You really can't be a good paramedic, in my opinion, if you're not a solid basic. If you don't master how to think like a basic, then you're going to miss so much, and you're going to overthink and get tunnel vision a lot more than if you focused on being quality basic first. Obviously there's exceptions to that. There's people that go 0 to hero and they're fine and they do okay. And there's people who were basics for years and they get their medic and they suck. So it's not a, one leads to the other every time kind of situation. However, in general, people who have a solid foundation as basics do become good paramedics, good quality paramedics. So specifically what I want to talk about right now is what happens when the call becomes ALS. Just because it starts BLS doesn't mean it always stays that way. And you're going to, your patients don't read the textbook. I know we beat this drum over and over and over again, but your patients are going to present all kinds of funky ways. And as I'm sure we all have seen, patients are not always the best historians. They don't always give you all the correct details up front. And even if you ask all the right questions and push enough, you're still going to miss stuff. They're still not going to tell you some things. And so always remember that patient presentations are dynamic. Just because a call starts as, non-critical, that'll be the polite way that we all refer to it, you can have those patients go sideways in a hot second. No, I'm not advocating for ALSing everything. Not at all. It's just an awareness that that's what can happen. You can have patients that you're just like, oh my God, this is drama, this is, hypochondria, whatever. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, something just went bad. They go unconscious or they start to have symptoms of a stroke, they start complaining of chest pain. Like there's certain things that can come out of nowhere that you weren't expecting. So medics, just because you don't have to ride the call at first doesn't mean that can't change. And believe me, I've been there. I know how you have this, if you've been getting your butt kicked all night and you're finally like, oh my God, yes, a BLS call, sweet. And then halfway to the hospital, your partner's like, so she's not breathing correctly. Okay, that's nobody's idea of a good night. However, that is a reality of the job. And your job as a paramedic is to take care of patients that fall within your scope of practice. So man up, suck it up. Don't shit on your partner for it. Sure, maybe your partner's overreacting. But the way to teach them that is not to bark and yell at them, but maybe you need to pull over and have a clinical conversation with them and explain, hey, no, actually, they're fine. And this happened with me some when I was a new EMT as well. I didn't have the experience to differentiate between bullshit and oh shit as well back then. So there would be times where I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I'm comfortable with what, has just started, what has just changed. And, having to have partners come back and say, hey, it's fine, not worried about it. Or, hey, thanks for telling me. I should have caught that. Or, wow, I didn't expect that. I got you. My personal policy is if an EMT tells me they're not comfortable riding the call, cool. I don't make it an issue. I will explain to them, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and this is what, kind of where my mind is tracking with this. And if they come back and say, I don't know, I'm still uncomfortable. And obviously, if they're being genuine, because you have plenty of people who are assholes and are lazy on both certs, both medics and EMTs. But, within reason, they're being sincere, even if you know that it's not warranted that it has to be ALS, just take the call. That doesn't mean you have to do anything ALS. You're just saying, okay, cool. I'll sit in the back. I'll do the chart. It's fine. And you have a conversation about it after, because you don't need to shame your partners in front of patients. Because what are we seeing in general? The public doesn't trust EMS very much. What are they usually worried about? Oh, is this going to cost me extra? Are you guys just going to send me a bill? Like, there's not an intrinsic trust there. So we need to be careful how we portray not just ourselves but our coworkers and other responders to patients. And belittling them is just not it's not gonna do it. So pony up, run your call, and use it as a teaching moment for your partners. And I can pretty well guarantee that if you have an EMT who genuinely wants to learn, is a generally reliable individual, you can foster a good relationship with them to where they will trust your instincts more, even if they're like, I don't know, this just seems weird. But if they've seen that you're consistent and that you're fair, that you treat your patients consistently and appropriately, then they're going to have a little more faith in what you're doing. So instead of making it a fight, make it something that you can connect with them and educate them through. And we talked about this the other day about managing up, making our partners look good. But it bears worth repeating. You should go out of your way to make your partner look good for the patient. So, like, if you have to stop transport midway and switch out with your partner, the patient's going to be like, "Oh, what's going on?" Assuming they're still conscious. And it's okay to say, "Hey, you know what? Just the way your condition has changed, the complaints or the vital signs or whatever has changed. I'm the one who has more of the tools to deal with this, and props to my partner for noticing. And they're doing their job, but they have limitations on them by the state. So this is now my responsibility to be back here. It's nothing. You can mitigate it very well if you take a little bit extra time to have a professional conversation. So don't be afraid to do that. But how many times, I know I experienced this as a basic, where I had partners where I'd mid transport or whatever be like, I'm not really okay with this. Or I can actually think of one time in particular. I was a young EMT, and I forget what the original complaint was. This was many years ago, many years ago, and it was like a sick person or whatever. I think it came out as unconscious. We get there, it wasn't negative LOC. Patient was A&O, just lethargic. Just general malaise, not any pinpoint pain, not any pinpoint no neurological issues, nothing like that. And during transport, something didn't seem right, and the patient wasn't. It was like the lethargy was a little bit worse. So I checked the blood sugar. Blood sugar was, I want to say it was in the 40s. And, at the time I'm like, hey, this is a problem. And so I hollered up at my partner. I was like, hey, this is what just happened. And he's like, well, we'll be at the hospital soon. Okay. We have a change in mentation. We have an obvious questionable vital sign that should require ALS intervention. I understand you got oral glucose as an option, but the overall presentation of the patient was, this isn't going to work out well. Their mentation was not doing great. And so I'm just like, okay, cool. You could jump back here and fix this problem real quick. But no, he continued driving us to the hospital. And then when a supervisor was there, he goes and complains to the supervisor and was just like, well, why didn't he check the blood sugar before? It's a baseline vital sign. And supervisor was like, not on every fucking patient. Not every time. I don't check blood sugars on everybody. Obviously, if I start an IV, cool. We'll just get a D stick off that real quick, unofficially. So, of course, supervisor was like, yeah, no, actually, you should have fucking stepped up and done something. So I get it. I have been in those situations before. Like, I'm not sitting here acting like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been there. And I understand too, as a medic, how frustrating it can be, and feeling like, you have some partners that are very skittish. They just are. And you end up having to run a lot more calls because your partner's skittish. And I get that. I'm not saying that you just constantly cater to the skittishness. You obviously work with them and try to make them better. But just suck it up and run the call. It's not that much paperwork. And honestly, especially if it's the middle of the night, I personally am totally fine not driving because I'm gonna fall asleep. If I'm not like in a urban area at night, me driving at night, I get pretty tired. So, um, just don't be a douche. Don't be a douche. Be a professional. And just because the call starts as BLS doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And if it changes, accept it. Carry on. What matters is that your patient gets the care that they are supposed to get, that they deserve. And that falls on both of you. And if their complaint suddenly becomes something that requires advanced intervention, that's what you're there for. That's why you became a paramedic. You didn't become a paramedic to not run calls. You became a paramedic to do advanced interventions and actually be able to provide a broader scope of care to your patients. So do it. If you don't want to do it, go become an EMT again. Or go work at Walmart. They pay pretty well. That's all I got for you guys. Be safe. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.